We're working on the Cuddy again. It's the next weekend. And we're patching all these holes in the bumper. We just made a bunch of plugs with a punch and tacked them in the back, and we're going to fill the front end with weld. Try to minimize the Bondo on the front side of it.
Back in the day, the factory lightweight cars were actually dismantled and the bodies were dipped in acid, and it took like half the thickness of the metal away and the car lost half the weight in the body. But they were so fragile, a lot of times if you just leaned against it, you'd dent the body. Here we got a situation where we got an old rust bucket and Mother Nature did the work for us. The thing is a lot lighter just because we eliminated a lot of the metal through rust. But when you pick this up now, oh, you got a clamp, but it's a lot lighter. There's other pieces that have to bolt to it. But the front end of the car is going to be a lot lighter. Right now with no bumper on it really helped acceleration, but you drive around, you get a ticket with no bumper. So the complexity to this job is that it's a two-part bumper. And we were just going to put little patches behind there and weld up the holes that used to hold a rubber strip. That rubber strip is like 150 bucks. It's ugly. We don't want it anyway. But if we start patching, then the other bumper would be sticking out further and wouldn't fit right. So we marked the ones that will patch easy, and then we're gonna just weld this bumper together and then make patches. And then when we flip it over, that whole area where the rubber strip was, we're gonna Bondo that. And we don't wanna make more work for ourselves by having to grind more and stuff. We'll have the thing all welded solid, and we'll be good to go. Now that the two pieces have had welding done that will allow it to lay flush, we can put the tube in here. Now let's go around and show how the heads of the carriage bolts were cut off, and they'll be ground flush. And then these brackets can bolt the sides up, and then you're just gonna, we'll get this all in place and weld it up. So when you're doing this stuff and you're lightening up a car, it's risky to drive on the street like this. This would be for off-road purposes only. If you smash into this thing, smash it into another car, this whole shock absorber and the other shock absorber used to absorb an impact. And then these brackets that go on here bolt up to that. It's a real massive thing. It was supposed to take 5 miles an hour and you weren't even supposed to have any damage. But we're gonna risk it and run this bumper solid. So I have a Laguna, 74 Laguna, and it goes right into this has just got a different front end. But mine bolted up into the front of the frame horn. This has extensions out further and bolts in, here. And it's got a bolt here and a big bolt there for all the adjustment on the bumper to get it to sit straight. But we're gonna leave this on, just remove this, and then the piece going from the bumper will bolt up to here. I had a welding teacher back in the 9th grade, and he always told us never to weld on a gas tank and never, weld additions onto shock absorbers and stuff like that. So I bring these shocks in from my Femi 50, and I had cut some spacers because it was sacked out and I wanted as much suspension as I could. So I cut these spacers in half and then slipped them underneath the springs, and I was going to have him weld them. All of a sudden he's in the process of welding it, and all of a sudden, boom, and flames come shooting out, and he throws the damn thing off to the side. He goes, "This is exactly why you're not supposed to do this stuff." I don't know if it's just a big spring in here, that if we went to go cutting it, all of a sudden, boing, you'd have a potential you know, thing under compression that would go flying across the room. Or if you tried cutting it off with a cutting torch, you could grind this out. You might have it heat up and build up pressure and blow up, you know, and fire coming out at you. So I think we should just make complete new brackets. So you see these shocks, we weighed these together. We made these brackets, just simple. There's some stock like this one, chopped it off, drilled the holes. You could have made it a lot lighter if it would have just gone off the frame with some little tabs, but he's wanting it to be somewhat sturdy in case of an accident. Knocked off 10 pounds just in the bracketry that holds the bumper, plus the whole beam. We'll figure out the total weight loss when we're all done. It was like a day ripping it apart with rusted up bolts, fixing holes and welding up holes, and then making this. This was like a day, and now we're gonna have to buy hardware, so then tomorrow it'll be getting it set up and then bolted together. You know, it's like 3 days.
Gonna work on this bumper for a couple hours again. This is another day. And you can see the Javelin's gone. The Cuddy's up on the rack. The Javelin is in winter storage, and we won't be seeing that again until springtime. What I'm focusing on now is I'm gonna make tabs. This is the end that I cut off here, that are gonna mimic this shape. I'm gonna fill up this area. The reason for that is that stuff holds up this like bumper filler or whatever you call it. And then at some point, I'll probably have to make something for this piece to hold it on there. Otherwise it would look kind of goofy. Is that tab welded in there? I was going to mount it to see what I needed for tabs for the center, and I put the brackets on it, and we're going to eliminate this bracket that floats behind there. What I'm going to need to do is get some bigger carriage bolts, and I'm going to hold them in here with a retainer. You can see it's slotted for left to right adjustment, and this bracket's been slotted for up and down adjustment. So we get this bumper as close as possible to where we need it. So that's it for today. Thanks for watching.